Okay, welcome back. We're going to be talking about the selection tool right now. Um, and the actual selection tool that I'm going to be talking about right now is actually the magic wand tool, straight over there. The magic wand I hate. It's a cheesy and cheater way to make decent selections, but there are some interesting things about it. Number one, I just want to show you how this thing works. Basically, everything in Photoshop, how the selections are made, the automatic selections are based on contrast. So if I have an area of high contrast, for example, between the blue and the white of this guy's shoulder, I can go in and I can select it and magic wand this fairly easily, and it's going to grab areas of high contrast. If the contrast is rather low, you're not going to be able to get a decent clip. It's going to be pretty jaggy. And also, grabbing selections is also really resolution dependent. If you have a low resolution image, such as 100 pixels per inch, what you're doing is you're grabbing on basically, the pixels themselves. So if the pixels and the definition of those pixels, if they're not packed in really tight, when you make the selection, you're going to get a jaggy edge. It's usually why I stay away from making the selections, with the magic wand. Usually I use the pen tool because that way also I get a nice vector out of it as well. But it does have some merits. For example, if I want to create a rough grunge texture, and also I want to note that up here in the tolerance is what how much the magic wand grabs at one time. So if I set the tolerance to 10, what it's set to right now, it grabs certain chunks of the image. And of course you're seeing this kind of banding effect right now because you have the sky, and the sky goes from almost a light tint of blue up to a darker shade of blue up here, with I guess being the normal hue and somewhere in there. So I mean, for example, I could shift click all over the place, and then I could duplicate that. So now this is what I'm left with. This alone is a nice interesting texture that you can play with. For example, I can go in here and just play with the blending tools and multiply it, then get some kind of cool thing. I could go and use a filter and, gee whiz, I don't know, motion blur it, do some interesting effects to it, just like so. There you go, we're done. I don't know, I'd probably do more, but just an example of what can be done just by using the selection tool, not by actually selecting stuff, just by selecting arbitrary bits and pieces. But what I want to talk about today actually is if I hold down the option key, I get the contextual menu. This is in Mac anyway. I think you get it in the PC also. But then basically you've got these options here, which is a color select all, which of course would make the whole thing. But the one I want to talk about is the color range. Color range gives you various, it allows you to select vis-a-vis the color picker. And you'll see here that you get two different options, and I'm only going to talk about selection preview and black matte. Basically whatever is black is going to be left alone in the preview, and over here whatever is whatever is black is going to be left alone, whatever is white is going to be grabbed. So the idea is that you want to have, if you want to have something selected, you want to make an isolated image. For example, in this one, what I'm going to do is click on the background. Why? Because to select the guy, there's so much color in here that even if I max out, the tolerance at 100, there's just too much. I'll go down here. There's just a lot of color in here, and I can kind of sort of do it, but I gotta click and shoot. This blue is too close to that blue, therefore the pixels go all over the place. Instead, let's grab the background and then inverse the selection, and then we've got a selection of the dude and the skateboard. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go to the magic wand tool, we're gonna do the contextual menu, go to color range, and the idea again is usually what I do is I start the fuzziness factor. You can see when I slide it up and down, it's pretty much how much of this, the color chunk, it gets expanded. How much of this the picker samples at once, radiating out from the center point of where you click. So the idea is to max out the fuzziness, and then you want to click somewhere, and you'll see the idea. You get lots of white here, and then I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to get my add color picker, or add you know, to my selection. Click again, click again, click again. Now I'm gonna back off the fuzziness. Now I'm gonna click some more, click some more, click some more, click some more, and I'm gonna kind of keep working it, and then back off the fuzziness so you don't see what's happening here. You get a nice silhouette. This is what you're looking for. And if you zoom in here, you can actually see all the black fragments through here. These are going to end up as selections, and also through here, this is going to be masked off or unselected. And you see how jaggy this gets, right? So this is one of the reasons why I really don't like using the selection tool for doing anything other than making, you know, grunge effects and textures and that kind of stuff. So just for kicks and giggles. And if you don't like it, you can always select the, you know, unselect and actually go back and pick off this, etc., etc. And by the way, there's no undo in this thing also. So I'm going to go in here, click all this stuff through. So once I get it, you know, pretty much kind of what I'm looking for, then I'm going to go OK. Pow. Now I've got this nice selection. And I could have actually inverted it through that also, but you notice there, if you got this stuff, I'm going to close this. You've got all these little fragments, right, kicking around. So, I mean, if you want to create a nice texture, I can go ahead and, for example, duplicate this. That's what I'm left with. Interesting. Could be used for a good design element. If I want to inverse this, it's Command Shift I, and then I go ahead and make a duplicate layer of that, and there you go. Now notice that, I mean, it's pretty rough and through here, but if this is kind of the effect I'm going for, that's super cool. I don't really care. Just gonna undo this stuff for a second. So anyway, so there you go. So say for example I want to clean some of this stuff up. Well, then I'd go and use my lasso tool, and if you hold down the shift key with the lasso tool, it actually allows you to add to the selection. Now depending on if you have this selected, right now what's selected actually is the background. So I want to add to the selection. I'm just going to run around here, and I'm using a tablet, so this is much easier to do, and just grab all that stuff and get rid of it. And then if I'm inside this selection, I want to use the minus tool, which is holding down the, I gotta look at it, option key. And then I just run through here real quick. And this is also how you clean stuff up as well. Now, if I had the pen tool, I was using the pen tool with this thing. Oops, I fudged up here, so then I go and like add to that selection right there, and then you just kind of keep on working it. Now the pen tool, which I'm a big pro user for, it's a lot more precise, and the time you take literally dicking around with getting your selection just right with the magic wand tool could be spent making an absolutely perfect trace with the pen tool. So choose your evil. The nice thing about using the pen tool as opposed to this magic wand tool is that the pen tool is resolution independent, meaning that the selection that I work so hard for is only good at the resolution I trace it at. Whereas if I use the pen tool, it's vector based. I can scale that sucker up and down. It doesn't matter. It's going to retain its integrity, its lines and everything all the way through. I can also take that pen tool trace and copy and paste it into Illustrator and have a beautiful vector silhouette or something to work from. So, you know, if you're going to invest the time to do it, make sure the artwork you create does double duty. You know, don't just use it for one, you know, stupid thing and then forget about it. Use your assets wisely. So anyway, so we got this guy set up here. It's kind of all decent and stuff. So I'm gonna inverse this, and you know, maybe I want to get rid of this stuff right here. You know, pow. So there's my skateboarder dude. So I'm gonna duplicate this. There we go. Done.